Welcome back to the Uncelebrated Path, how business leaders really made it. I'm your host, Alex Mercer, and I hope you got a ton of value from our last episode about Tope Awotona, the founder of Calendly. If you haven't checked that one out yet, definitely give it a listen. It's a powerful story of betting everything on yourself and winning. Now, today's story is one that's got it all. Love, betrayal, billion-dollar competition, and a whole lot of bold moves. This isn't just about building an app. It's about rewriting the rules of an entire industry. Today, we're talking about Whitney Wolfe Herd, the co-founder of Tinder and the founder and CEO of Bumble. Let's rewind back to 2012. Whitney was in her early 20s, fresh out of college, and helping to launch a dating app that would soon take the world by storm, Tinder. At the time, Tinder was just a small startup trying to stand out in the crowded dating space. Whitney played a key role in branding and marketing the app, helping to turn swiping right into a cultural phenomenon. But behind the scenes, things weren't so rosy. In 2014, Whitney left Tinder in the midst of a very public and painful legal battle, filing a sexual harassment and discrimination lawsuit against the company. For many people, that would have been the end of the story, but for Whitney, it was just the beginning of something bigger. That same year, she founded Bumble, a dating app with one bold twist: women make the first move. At the time, it was unheard of. The dating app world was and still is dominated by male-driven design and culture. But Whitney flipped the script. She wasn't just launching another dating app, she was building a movement. Bumble would become a platform that centered women, gave them control, and promoted respect in digital spaces. What most people don't know is that Whitney had already shown signs of being a social entrepreneur back in college. While studying at Southern Methodist University, she launched a line of bamboo tote bags to support communities affected by the BP oil spill. She got celebrities like Nicole Richie and Rachel Zoe on board, and the campaign went viral. After that, she created a clothing line called Tender Heart to raise awareness around human trafficking. Even back then, she was already showing that business could be a force for social change. But getting Bumble off the ground wasn't easy. Investors were skeptical, critics doubted her, and she was still dealing with the media spotlight from her Tinder exit. But Whitney kept going. She partnered with a Russian billionaire and early Tinder backer, Andrei Andreev, to fund the app. That partnership would get complicated later, but in those early days, it gave Bumble the boost it needed. Within just a few years, Bumble exploded. It wasn't just growing, it was challenging the biggest names in the industry. Whitney expanded the brand to include Bumble BFF for friendships and Bumble Biz for networking, all while staying laser-focused on creating safe, empowering experiences for women. Then, in 2021, Whitney Wolfe Herd made history. At just 31 years old, she became the youngest self-made female billionaire to take a company public. On the day of Bumble's IPO, she rang the NASDAQ bell holding her one-year-old son. That moment was more than just symbolic, it was revolutionary. But what most people don't see is how hard-fought that journey really was. Whitney dealt with burnout, backlash, and more than her share of doubters. She endured intense online harassment, including a cyber attack from a neo-Nazi group in 2017 that forced her to hire full-time security. On top of the external pressures, she's been open about her struggles with anxiety and the emotional toll of building a mission-driven company in the spotlight. Whitney also embraced motherhood during all of this, giving birth to her second son in 2022 while continuing to lead Bumble through a competitive and evolving tech landscape. She's been vocal about creating a work culture that supports parents and challenges the idea that success requires sacrificing family life. And just when people thought she might step back, Whitney shocked the industry again. In March 2025, she returned as CEO of Bumble. Her re-entry wasn't just about leadership, it was about recommitting to her original vision of using tech to foster meaningful, healthy connections. Not just in dating, but across friendships, mentorships, and even combating loneliness through digital design. Whitney Wolfe Herd is not just a founder, she's a force. She took on an industry that didn't want her to lead, built a billion-dollar empire on her terms, and showed the world that doing things differently isn't a risk. It's the advantage. What can we learn from Whitney's journey? First, your lowest moments can lead to your greatest breakthroughs. Whitney turned pain into purpose and used it as fuel to build something better. Second, don't be afraid to do things differently. The biggest opportunities often lie in flipping the status quo. And third, your story doesn't end with a setback. It starts with what you do next. Thanks for tuning in to the Uncelebrated Path, how business leaders really made it. If Whitney Wolfe Herd's story inspired you, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, another deep dive into the real, raw journeys of business trailblazers. Until next time, remember, every setback is a setup for something greater. Keep building, keep believing, and stay on your path.